To learn from Kenya's successful wildlife tourism industry, a Nigerian delegation led by the Ministry of Environment recently visited Kenya, meeting with key officials who are fighting wildlife crime and driving economic growth through tourism. This visit was organized by the Environmental Investigation Agency, which works to combat global wildlife crime, in collaboration with Wild Africa and Africa Nature Investors Foundation.
So a lot of the stuff that's been happening in Nigeria has been perpetrated by organized criminal networks coming in from outside Nigeria, exploiting your governance and the weak legislation perhaps, and those are the people where the financial investigation is really key.
In the area of ecotourism, and this is one area that the president of my country is also trying to promote in his bid to diversify the Nigerian economy. My ministry, the Federal Ministry of Environment, are working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, which has just been created. And the whole essence is to also ensure that we put tourism on the priority agenda of the federal government of Nigeria. So this is an opportunity to learn from one of the best.
Data from the Environmental Investigation Agency reveals that between 1998 and 2014, Kenya and Tanzania were the top two African countries linked to ivory seizures. However, after Kenya's new wildlife law was implemented in January 2014, the situation changed. The first sentencing under the new law resulted in a Chinese national being fined 20 million Kenyan shillings, approximately $233,000 at the time. Between 2015 and 2019, Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo then emerged as the leading countries for ivory seizures. This shift demonstrates that improvements in law enforcement can effectively disrupt wildlife trafficking networks, positioning Kenya as a leading example on the African continent. Today, wildlife tourism is one of Kenya's largest sources of foreign exchange, generating over $2 billion in 2023 alone.
Now, you get the criminal investigators off. Then you let the financial investigators now take the lead under the civil proceedings, because they are only assisting you to deny criminal networks of the money. Because as long as they pay the fine, they get out. It is a syndicate. It continues and continues.
Over the course of 4 hours, senior Nigerian lawmakers and officials from the Ministry of Environment engaged in a productive exchange with the Kenyan team.
We are basically performing the investigation duties, which is the core function of the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. You will find that since our operation, we've had our successes. We have arrested 92 people with wildlife crime offenses, among them senior government officials.
The deputy chairman of the Nigerian House of Representatives Committee on Environment, Tasia Ugbo, was also present at the meeting. He is the sponsor of the Endangered Species Conservation and Protection Bill, which has successfully passed its second reading.
The bill has crossed first reading and second reading in the House of Representatives. It's after this session, this visit to Kenya, our intention is to go back and hold a public hearing on the bill in the House of Representatives. And this is quite significant because we have the senator here, so the ball will be passed to him to help us push it through. So I'm putting him on the spot.
What is lacking is what the deputy chairman, Ugol, has did. We need the legal backing. And to do that, I want to assure you that once the House of Rep is finished with their procedure, not that we will have to go over the whole thing in the Senate again.
According to Nigeria's Minister of State for Environment, a key takeaway from these meetings is the significant potential of wildlife tourism, particularly when the government and the private sector collaborate effectively.
One big lesson that I am taking back to Nigeria is that as we do wildlife conservation, wildlife protection, as we preserve our environment. We can also harness a lot of economic activities, generate a lot of employment from it, and I think that is one big lesson. Again, it's also important to say that in doing that, the place of the private sector is very key. We've seen the role that the private sector is playing here in Kenya, and of course, the involvement of the communities.
As wildlife populations in Nigeria continue to rapidly decline and environmental crime remains a challenging issue, there is hope that by studying Kenya's successful model, Nigeria can turn a new leaf and eventually become a leading example in Africa as well. This starts with the passing of the Endangered Species Conservation and Protection Bill and imposing strict penalties for wildlife crime. Leila Johnson Salami, Arise News.